Welcome back to another episode of Learning How to Crochet with me, Jade. I'm using a 5.7 millimeter hook. I'm using a bigger hook than normal so you guys can see my stitches. Normally I would use a 5 millimeter hook for this size yarn. So I'm just going to start with 10 chains. And if you haven't learned how to chain, I did post that video as well, teaching you how to hold the needle and your hands, how to make a chain. So I just did a chain of 10, and when I get to my last chain, I'm going to chain 3 more. Make sure I do 3, and I'm gonna yarn over and go directly into the third stitch from my hook, the third one. So we don't count the one that the yarn is pulling from. We go into the third stitch. So there it is, a little bit closer. I'm just going to yarn over and pull up a loop. So now I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over one more time and pull through the first 2 and stop there. Yarn over again and pull through the last 2. Stop there. Make sure you keep all your tension correct, nice and tight, but not too tight, not too loose, just right. You'll see me going back and forth on the needle, making the loops identical sizes to the needle. That's why they're shaped the way that they are, to keep the identical sizes all the way through. So again, we're going to yarn over once, pull up a loop, yarn over 1, and yarn over and pull through 2. It's really fun to do when you get into it. I'm going to do a couple more with you guys. It's just yarn over 1, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. If you're having a hard time getting your needle through your chain, I suggest you go ahead and start your chain over to make sure that all of your stitches are visible and going in the same direction. Make sure that they're flat. How mine are, you can see the V or the braid shape at the very top, so you can see which stitch you need to go into next. I've also seen people have everything correct, got every step correct. They remember the pattern and can't get the tension right when they start the project. And it makes the project lopsided and uneven as you go. So you want to make sure as you're working that you look back at your pieces and that everything is the size that you need them to be, all uniform sizes. If you notice my hands, you'll remember in a previous video I mentioned the importance of each of your fingers actively working as you move. You want to make sure your index finger is pulling the work tight and keeping the yarn in place, as well as your index finger in your opposite hand, keeping the yarn in place so that you can just wrap your yarn around the needle. This whole process will take a long time for you to master how you would want to do it comfortably. I suggest looking up other ways to hold crochet needles. I hold mine underhand or in the knife form, and some people hold it overhand like a pencil. So depending how you would like to hold it, it's all based on your own preferences. So we finally made it to the end, and we're going directly into that last stitch, not the slip knot that we made to start. And I tied the end in, and you can do that as well if you know how to sew them in as you go. Otherwise, I suggest just sewing it in when you're done. And we're going to chain 3 and stitch into the next stitch, because the chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. So we're going to go directly into the very first stitch that you see. that the chain is not coming out of. Working into the chain was the hardest part. Now that you have more of a product to grab hold of with your working hand and your crochet hand, it's a lot easier to just get into it. As you can see, this is a speed run of how you would do it just to get it over with really quickly. As also, why I hold my hands that way, everything is just ready to be picked up and to go. So we are at the end of this row, and we're just going to crochet into that very last double crochet. So you know it's a double crochet because it is connected to in the other side. The piece underneath it is the bottom half of the double crochet, so you would not crochet into that. You would only crochet into the top of the stitch. So you don't want to crochet into the side of the stitch because that will make your project lopsided as well. However, on the opposite side on the project, you will have to crochet into what looks like the side of the crochet, but you have to count it and make sure it's the third stitch so that you're not crocheting into the second one and making your project lopsided. In case that explanation was confusing, here is a photo example of what I mean. That is the last stitch that you would do on this row. It looks like it's a part of the chain, but it is the top of that double crochet, because if you remember, when you chain 3, that is a double crochet, so you don't want to skip that and accidentally do a decrease on your project.